अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन। आप लोग सब कैसे हैं? अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह सब ठीक होंगे। अच्छा, आज का जो लेक्चर है वो है हमारा लेक्चर नंबर 7। और इस लेक्चर को स्टार्ट करने से पहले थोड़ा सा हम लोग रिवाइज़ कर लेते हैं कि अभी तक हमने क्या कुछ पढ़ा है। तो आज से पहले हमने देखा था कि TCP/IP मॉडल क्या होता है, OSI मॉडल क्या होता है, लेयरिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट देखा था, लेयर्ड आर्किटेक्चर क्या होता है, लेयर्ड आर्किटेक्चर के फ़ायदे नुकसानात, सारा कुछ हमने डिस्कस किया था। After then, we adopted for this course the TCP/IP model, and in the TCP/IP model, we started from the top layer, which is the application layer, and then we discussed what application layer do and what are the functionalities of application layers. In this background, we have reviewed the functionalities of application layer. Then we have discussed some of the protocols of application layer, which including file transfer protocol, email, and then we have lastly discussed the DNS server, the DNS. And in the DNS, we have distributed the concept how the DNS is being organized and how the DNS servers work, what are the architecture of DNS, and how distributed DNS and the local DNS works. And then at the end, we also saw the concept of web caching, HTTP, and this type of uh, things we have discussed in the previous lectures. So in today's lecture, we will be further discussing the application layer into some more details. In this lecture, we will going to discuss the peer-to-peer applications. Before going to that, I also like to mention here that in the introductory lectures, I introduced to you about the addressing schemes which are used in networks. There are three type of addressing scheme addresses that which we used. First one are the IP address, second are the MAC address. Okay, I will write it down. IP addresses, then we have MAC address, and then we have some port numbers, or we call it socket numbers. Okay, so IP address is basically of two types: IP version 4 and version 6. Version 4 consists of 32 bits and version 6 consists of 128 bits. And IP address basically gives you the logical address of a device within the network, where it is being located and where it is connected, from which subnet or from which part of network this device is been connected to the network. And the MAC address, well, this is of 48 bits. It's a physical address. It's the physical address of device. It gives what is the address, what is the address of device, uh, and it gives the physical location or physical address of the device. Well, IP address can be spoofed, can be changed very easily. MAC address, on the other hand, is not that easy to spoof or change, but it can be spoofed. So IP address gives you the logical logical address, and MAC address gives you the physical address. On the other hand, the port address, the port number or port address is going to be giving you which port or which application, which type of application, or which type or which port or which socket is communicating or is creating the process or is participating in the data communication. So these type of addresses exist in the network. So today's lecture will be about the peer-to-peer architecture. What is peer-to-peer architecture and why we use it? So before going to the details, I like to take you into the some we will like to hear replay our concepts regarding the architecture of network. I mentioned in the previous lectures that there are two type of architecture exist in the network. One is the client, in which data communication can be placed, can take place. One is the client server architecture and the other one is the peer-to-peer architecture. In the client server architecture, client requests the server to give access or to process his request, and then the server replies back in, and we discuss in the DNS lecture and the HTTP lecture. So in this lecture we will be going in a detail in a scenario where there is no server at all. So there is no server, clients can directly communicate. Basically we call them peers instead of clients. So the peers can directly communicate with each other and there is no central device or there is no server involved in their communication. So the end systems or the peers can directly communicate with each other. Like in this diagram you can see a vehicle which is a peer and a laptop. They can directly communicate with each other, there is no server involved, and then others can directly communicate there. And also the peers can intermittently change their IP address and can they can directly connect with each other. So for interface 1 there can be another IP address, and for interface 2 there can be another IP address. So the best example of this peer-to-peer architecture is file distribution, which based on torrent, which is the best example. The peer-to-peer distribution based on the torrent. Let's see an example here. What torrent do is it divide the whole file into fixed chunks, into more specifically 256 kilobits of chunks. What does this chunks do and what is the advantage? So the advantage of dividing the whole file into a chunk, into many chunks basically, is that to reduce the amount of to reduce the chances of the portion of data being lost. Because if suppose an example where someone is transferring the file and abruptly his link got lost. So in this case, if chunks of file were not been made, then the whole transmission will have to restart from the beginning. Well, in case of chunks, the lost chunks will be retransmitted and the successfully received chunk will be processed. So the loss of data, amount of loss of data in case of chunks will be smaller as compared to the non-chunks or non-packetization of chunks will cause you more data loss. Because if data is being lost in case of non-packetization process, then you have to restart the transfer of file from the beginning. In case of file is being divided into chunks, the lost chunks can be retransmitted easily. So what did BitTorrent do? It divided the file into the fixed amount of chunks, and the number of chunks depend upon the file size. So the peers that are directly connected can send and receive the file chunks easily. In here the peer is basically your end system. So the role of peers can be of two types. Peer can do seeding or leeching. So peers can be divided into two roles, that is seeder or leecher. And leecher or seeder. So what will seeder will do? Seeder will do, and if a peer has a role of seeder, then he or she will be uploading the file. The peer will be uploading the file, the seeder will be uploading the file, while as a leecher will download the file. So uh, basically the leacher will download the file if in case the peer doesn't have that particular chunk of file, then it will leech the file from the seeders, from the available seeders. So whenever you search from the file search engine of torrents, you type a particular file name, and then there are results. In results you can see the amount of seeders and leechers available. So who provide the amount, the number of seeders or leechers? So the tracker here plays a role, that and the tracker basically displays the amount of peers that are participating in the torrent is being tracked by the tracker, and tracker here is belongs to the server, but server does not directly take take his role in the communication of distribution of files. Server just do the tracking of the peers, that the number of peers, it displays it records basically the number of peers that are participating in the torrent. So in the search engine you see the amount of seeders and leechers available. So what you do is you download that file which has the highest number of seeders and leechers available. So if the number of seeders are higher, that means the file can be downloaded in a lesser amount of time, because there are many people available, there are many people are uploading that file, so you can easily download that file. So in case of downloading the file, the best case scenario is the seeders, the number of seeders being high is the best case scenario for faster downloading the file, for faster distribution of file. The worst case is there are no seeder available and there are number of leechers available, so it means that no one has the file and no one is uploading the file. So there are number of leechers available who are downloading, who are requesting to download the file, but there are no seeders. That will be the worst case scenario. So what here we will do is discuss how this file distribution take place. So assume that this PC has the 100% of the file. So basically this PC, this PC will be the originator of this peer, and all of these are participating. These are directly and indirectly connected to this. So he will immediately seeding the file. So what here is do, he basically the file distributor, the BitTorrent basically divide the file into the fixed 256 chunks. 256 size of each chunk will be of 256, and the number of chunks will depend upon the file size. So the chunks will be transferred, and let's assume that this peer has downloaded all the chunks from this originator peer. So what this peer will do now, it will seed the amount of chunks that are available to him, and even if consider that this PC has downloaded only 1%, then the amount that this PC will be seeding the वही अमाउंट सीड कर रहा होगा जो उसके पास 1% जो उसके पास डाउनलोड हो चुकी है, ये वही अमाउंट को सीड करने लग जाएगा. तो इससे क्या होगा, जब आपके पास नंबर ऑफ़ सीडर्स ज़्यादा होंगे, जब और लीचर भी ये यहाँ पे हुए, तो इस केस के अंदर क्या होगा, जिसके पास जितनी अमाउंट ऑफ फाइल डाउनलोड हो चुकी है वो उतनी अमाउंट ऑफ फाइल को सीड करने लग जाएगी. सो द रिजल्ट विल बी file can be easily and fasterly downloaded by the leechers. So the file distribution in peer-to-peer architecture is better and is faster as compared to the client-server architecture. So assume that a new peer comes in. Let's assume girl Alice arrives. So now what will happen? She will contact the list of peers available from the tracker, and she will see that there are many seeders and leechers available, and then she will join the peer and start exchanging the uh, file. So in case of Alice, she initially does not have any percentage of file, so she will leech the file, she will download the file, and as soon as she downloads some chunk of file, she will start leeching the file. So that helps in faster and quick file distribution as compared to the client server architecture. So let's move on, and now let's discuss if someone does not have the chunk of file, what will happen. It will request the connected peers who will have the file. So any one of the requested peer can share his or her downloaded file, so that the requested peer can download easily the file. So tracker basically gets updated whenever a new neighbor is been added. So what we do now, whenever we do, is a selfish thing that whenever we download the file, successfully 100% downloaded file, we stop the seeding. That is a selfish thing, because there are so many leechers that wanted to download the file, but you intentionally stop the file. That is called selfishness, and that is not appropriate thing to do. In order to remain in the torrent, you ethically seed the file, so that the leechers start to download the file and can have the missing chunks from you. Better thing is that you just limit the uploading or the seeding limit to be 1 kilobytes per second, so that other leechers can download and request from you. So in BitTorrent, what the requesting chunks and the sending chunks do is a tit for tat. We call it tit for tat because the requesting chunks request the requesting peer basically requests the missing chunks from the seeders available and the peers available. So in this case, the LS who basically requests the list of chunks, list of peers, or for the list of chunks that she want to download. So Alice basically requests the missing chunks from the peers that assume that are very rare. So in this case, the chunks will be available from very less amount of peers. So in this case, the file distribution will be very slow. So randomly there they can select any other peer starting the sending chunks. So optimistically that will unchoke the process, but the new peer may join the top 4 that are seeding the chunk, and the list of peers are re-evaluated after every 4 to 10 seconds. So in this case, the Alice will optimistically unchunk the Bob, as Bob will reciprocate the top 4 providers, and then Alice will become the top 4 provider of the Bob. So the higher upload rate find the better trading partner, and then gets the file transfer in a faster way. So moving on, how the peers are being calculated and how these are located, and trackers how they do. So basically they do in a hash table type of concept. So I guess you are familiar. If not, then I will try to now give you some concept about the hash table. Basically hash table are used here just to keep record of the participating peers. Let's assume basically in hash table there is a hashing function. Before hashing function, you define the size of a hash table. Assume the size of hash table being 8. So the array size or the hash table size is 8 bits, is 8 locations. So the starting location will be 0 and the ending location will be 7. 0 to 7 will be the hash table locations number. So I will make a hash table here. I told you that the hash table basically keep record of the participating peers in the file distribution using torrents. So hash table will be something like that. Got some words. Okay, that will be location 0, location number 1, location 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we will have location 7. Okay, so I will give the location numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So this will be the hash table and the location. So I basically just here define the size of a hash table, which is equal to 8, and then make a hash table. So I will now basically what I will do is define a hash function. On the basis of hash function, we will generate the location where which the key is to be placed, or where the address has to be placed, or where will the data has to be placed. So the hashing function, let's assume the hash function here, h of k. Hash function will basically provide you the location where which this key has to be placed. Hash function, let's define it. Assume that 3k plus 2 to be your hash function, and the mod of 8. So in this case the hash function will be this, and here m is 8, so I put 8 to be here. Otherwise the formula is something will be like that, 3k plus 2 divided by m, and m here in this case is 8, so I place the 8 here. So now I will provide some values. V, assume it to be 13, first value, second to be 49, third let it be 33, and now the values for third will be 26, then 38. For the collision, let's make a collision of data, 67, and 26 will make the collision now again, and then we will resolve it, and then 67 again. So there are basically 8 values here, and the location are 8, so let's fill it. How we will do it? Let's make the table, or for your simplicity, let's make and the location. So in k will be the value, in this case 13 multiplied by 3 plus 2, and modulus 8 will give you the location for this will be for 13, the value will be 1. So this output from the hash function basically give you the location where will the data will be placed. So 13 means you place 3 multiplied by k, that is 3 multiplied by 13 plus 2, and then modulus of 8, and the answer will be 1. So at first location, what you simply do is you found the location from the hash function, you simply place at first location location number 1 you place 13. Okay, so in 49 case it will be 3 multiplied by 49 plus 2, then modulus 8, and the answer in this case will be 5. So you simply do that location number 5, at location number 5 you place 49. And now for 33, similar, and the answer will be for 33 is location 5. So in this case, at location 5 there is already data which is being placed. You can see that at location number 5 49 is being placed. So how to remove this clash? A clash of location has been occurred. So in this case, assume linear probing. What does linear probing do? Linear probing basically finds the next available location and, for the data to be placed. So in this case, 5 plus 1 is 6 available. Yes, 6 available. So the prob will be 2 probs. This will be resolved in 2 probs. First prob is that you find the 5th location and it's not free. Then you 5 plus, then you add 1 location, and then the prob will go to second, and in this case the update value will be 6. So you place 33 at location number 6. So for 26 you again put the 26 in the formula and the answer is 0. So in this case you place 26 at 0th location, and 0 location is available. So for 38 you again recalculate the formula from the formula, and for 38 you get 4. So 4th location is available and you place 38 to be here. And then for 67 you put the 67 into the formula and you get 3. So you place 67 at location number 3. So for 26 it's again, you can see 0, but at 0th location 26 is still available. So what does linear probing in if I assume that linear probing resolve the clash, then next location is 3, next location is 1, and first location 1 is not available. So linear probing is plus 1, location 2, yes, location 2 available. So there are 2 probes in this there are 3 probes basically. First is 26, first is 0, then second is 1, and third one is 2. So the clash has been resolved in the third prob. So for 67 you again find, so update this to be 2. You again find for 67 is 3, but at location 3 you can see 67 is already placed. So 4th you cannot find, 4th you cannot find, 5th you cannot find, 6th. So it's been resolved in the which one prob? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th prob. So the number of probs here are 5. Sorry. So it's been resolved in 5 probs. So basically, what does hash function, hash value, hash table does here? It does the it provide you the location where can the data is in place. So in this case, in our case now, assuming the peer-to-peer application, what does peer-to-peer application do here is, here we have a distributed hash table, and simple hash table, I have given you example how the simple hash table works and how it places the value. And in case of collision, linear probing do the collision avoidance, collision removing. So the distributed hash table basically is I cannot I basically skip this slide because I have provided you the concept here. So basically what this slide is provide you the concept of hash table, and hash table I have given you an example and provide you the concept how this hash table work. So hash table based on distributed architecture will provide you it will provide a database of in a distributed fashion, and it can connect millions of pairs over the internet, and the pairs are distributed over the peers. So any peer can query the database with a key, and the database returns the value for the key. And to resolve the query, the small number of messages are exchanged between the peers. So each peer will know only about a small number of other peers, so it cannot have the whole database for, so the each peer cannot have the whole database. Instead he or she will be having a smaller portion of database, so that will resolve the conflicts. So this architecture of distributed and hashable is basically a robust, because the peers can come and go and it will update the value. So in this way, in this peer to peers, the rule is assign key value peer to the peer that is closest, that has the closest ID. So the convention is the immediate successor of the key. Suppose there are 8 peers, the key is 51, then assign goes to 60. And so the basically key here is being generated using the hash table. So second concept of hash table that can be implemented in peer-to-peer applications is circular hash table, circular distributed hash table. In the circular distributed hash table, peers does not know about all or some number of connected peers, but they know only their successors and predecessors only, who is connected as a successor to him and who is connected as a predecessor to him. So they only know about their neighbors only. So in that will make in a circular fashion, so it makes distributed hash table in a circular way. So it's called a circular distributed hash table, and usually used in an overlay network. So that was for today. Goodbye for now. Allah Hafiz.